Yes, guys, and welcome back to We Are Tottenham TV for your last pre-match pump-up of the season. I think we'll all agree the season has not gone the way many Spurs fans wanted it to go this season. However, one thing that has been consistent is this pre-match build-up. So if you have enjoyed them, make sure you smash the like button. Feel free to subscribe and keep Ben and Sim on the path and journey they're on. And also, feel free to engage with us in this live show via super chat or even just getting your comments in the comment section, and we'll try and bring them up as best of our ability as we go along. We've got a lot to discuss today. Apologies for being late. I ran over on my show, so I do apologize for that. But we are joined by the one and only, and another guy who's been Mr. Bloody consistent this season. It is Shawnee from Spurs Talk. So how are you, my man?
Good, mate. Good. Like you, like most people, I guess. Can't wait. So while I say it, I was just saying to you this to you in the background. Like, I can't wait to get the season over and done with. But by this time next week, I'll be twiddling my thumbs going, what am I supposed to do for the next 8 weeks? You know?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm good, mate.
Yeah, I was only saying to you, the way I'm feeling now, I'd like, thank God. But next week, I'll be itching for football again. So, I agree. It's a difficult position to be in. I don't even know how my emotions are after this season, to be brutally honest. I think angry, upset, many other words for that. But, a guy, hopefully you'll be seeing a lot more of him around here as well. Gave a brilliant breakdown on the one and only Ange Postecoglou yesterday. Great debrief on the guy. If you haven't checked it out, please do go and check it out. He'll definitely have you sold. But Paul, how are you keeping, my man?
Yeah, not bad. I mean, I'll tell you what, it's very posh in here on We Are Tottenham TV. I mean, I don't mean to be rude, but all you give us is a rusty bowl of peanuts and pubes. Here you get cocktails, single malt whiskey. There's a piano player in the corner. Beautiful, man.
The highlight.
Definitely scaling up. But look, as we know, we are heading to Leeds today. What's at stake, I hear you ask. So I'm going to tell you, look, we need to win today. If we win today, we relegate Leeds. But also, if Brighton beat Aston Villa, it means we sneak into that Europa Conference League spot. So hopefully that does happen, because people like me, who's a pathetic fan, I do want to see us play the likes of crap teams across Europe and hopefully beat them. I just want European competition at any cost, to be honest with you. But also, Leeds have a lot to fight for. If they win today and results go their way at Everton, they also have a chance of avoiding the drop. So a lot at stake today. But Shawnee, also, you can give us your thoughts on the game, but I also want to throw this to you, and it's an absolute doozy of a stat, to be honest with you. Quite concerning as well, actually. But Spurs are yet to win against any of the sides currently in the bottom four away from home, losing 4-1 at Leicester, drawing 3-3 with Southampton and 1-1 away with Everton. Is this just purely down to being outworked, outrun, and outfought? Because, in my opinion, we do have much better players than them teams down in the bottom four.
God, that is a good stat. I'd imagine, though, if you were to take any particular segment of the table and then review our away form, you're going to find something similar. We're terrible away from home. I don't know why it is. We're not much better at home, especially in 2023. But we're abject away from home, and I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think the confidence in the team is terrible. I think maybe, especially in the second half of the season, as the business end comes in, teams that are in the bottom half, the bottom sort of 4 or 5 or 6 teams. Actually, to be fair, the relegation scrap until about middle of April was basically 12th down to 20th or 12th down to 19th. So, everyone was fighting for their lives, and Tottenham really haven't fought for anything this season. So, I think it is a combination of being outfought, outworked. We do have a better squad on paper, but paper doesn't matter, right? It's about what happens on the pitch. And this season, we have been largely innocuous on the pitch in most of the difficult games, most of the games where Tottenham, you think you go into it thinking that we should have a shout for 3 points here. Spursy got to Tottenham, and Spursy comes along to disappoint us, like they always seem to do right now.
I think it's it's a classic back to the saying. I think it applies here. Hard work beats talent every day of the week, and I think you could probably throw that one at that. But Sean, before we get Paul involved here, my man, the season has been a complete disaster. It's been a complete shit show. But, we have a chance to sort of win today and hopefully if results go away, get into Europa Conference League. What do you want to see from this team today? Or do you even care? Do you just want it over? Do you actually want to see some signs of encouragement maybe to end off in going into the summer?
Do you know what, mate? I've been going back and forth on this all week. I like most things with Tottenham, there's two sides to the argument, right? That you can go both ways with it. And when it comes to finishing in the Conference League, I really don't know where I land. Like I see the benefits of, as a fan, watching our team play twice a week. I see the benefits of being in Europe to bleed in some of the youngsters coming through, give them like the 80-20 rule. I think I spoke about this with you guys last week, right? Have 80% of the players being first teamers or bigger names. And then if we're going away or even at home in Europe, put in 2 or 3 of the youngsters, give them a chance where they won't otherwise get it. The pathway to the first team is important. It looks like we're going to lose out on Mundell. He's going to go somewhere else. Lavigne went elsewhere because they, lots of, Mark Handy left because there was no access to the first team. A competition like the Conference League should give some of the people that are chomping at the bit some access to the first team and protect, give them a reason to sign another contract and protect some of our talents that are coming through. At the same time, having a year off out of Europe when there's so much going wrong with the first team, it allows us to kind of strip some of the deadwood or more of the deadwood. It doesn't mean you have to have 25 players in the squad. If you're just playing once a week, you could just focus and get whoever the manager's going to be on the training ground every day, drilling, preparing for the next league game. You saw the benefit to like teams like Brighton and Newcastle this season not having Europe. You even saw Arsenal, they went, even though they were in the Europa League, they never really played their first team. So the benefits of not being Europe are there for everyone to see. So I don't know which one I'd rather have, to be honest. I'm okay if Tottenham lose today. Say that again. I'm not okay if Tottenham lose. I'm okay if we don't qualify. If Aston Villa beat Brighton and we beat Leeds, that's fine with me. If Aston Villa draw and we draw, that's fine with me. If we qualify, I'm okay with it. And if we don't, I'm also okay with it. But I just want to see Tottenham finish off the season and give the away fans something that are traveling 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever it's going to take. Give them something to enjoy for the last game of the season.
That I definitely agree with. They've been amazing this season. Like Sean, we've been watching the watch-alongs, but you've had, your commentary on. You've been blessed in that regard. You've been able to have the commentary on in the background and stuff. And you've always mentioned how the away fans, they're loud, they're proud, and it's been absolutely brilliant. I remember that spine-tingling 10-minute Yid Army chant from 1 minute to 10 minutes of just Yid Army by the Spurs fans away from home. And, some of them had to go up to Newcastle and endure that shit up there, but then their trains have been delayed. Some of them, got off work early to head up to Sheffield United, got, let down there, stuff like that. People have, forked out money to get across to Europe and stuff, which is not cheap. And they both.
I went to Leicester. I think Leicester was arguably the second most disappointing, most embarrassing away performance after Newcastle, maybe Sheffield United. After that, Leicester away was disgusting. And I was at that game. It's not as far to travel, but, it's the same. The performance was just not good enough. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I agree. And, it would be nice. I agree with your point. It would be nice to give them away fans, a good send-off, a good, a thank you for supporting us this season, even though it's been crap. I do think it would be nice for them to honor and respect, the loyal away following that they've had this season. Paul, down to you, my man. I mean, look, I'll throw another question at you, and then also I want to know what you're expecting from today. But we have not won outside of London since October, and have not won away from home since January. Why do we not travel well? And how do we rectify this for next season? Because let's be honest, we have been really bad away from home for years. It's not just an anomaly this season. And a lot of our cup embarrassments, they have actually been away from home as well. So what's the problem at Tottenham Hotspur that we do not travel well? And like I said, it extends beyond this season.
I think they just can't handle maybe hostility. It's it's very comfortable at Spurs, because I don't know if you've heard, but I heard the other day we've got the best training facilities and the best stadium. I don't think anyone's ever said that before. And I think it's just too comfortable for them. And when they get away from home and you've got an away crowd that's up and at them, we know Ben Davies has a problem with this. Playing away, he doesn't like it. The crowd's a bit hostile, bless him. they just fall to bits a bit. I mean, even at home, we're just hanging on by the barest thread. Really, it's not like we're superstars at home, but we've managed to grind out a few results and put the odd 45 minutes together. I don't know how you fix it. I mean, either that or maybe, you know, the air conditioner doesn't work on the team coach and Eric Dyer's blocked up the toilet or something and they're running around with stomach cramps. I don't know. You know, they need a, you know what, one thing I think that would help is we don't have a leader on the pitch. We don't have a captain, and whatever position that may be, I prefer that to be like in defence or midfield. That's got to be something we've really got to seriously look at over the summer.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. And Paul, what are you looking for from today's game? Or are you just one of them? You just want the season over. You don't really care what really unfolds today. The damage is already.
No, because there's something wrong in my head, unfortunately. So it's match day. I always get excited. I always become a bit of a happy clapper because I want to win. I want to see a nice, stylish game of football. I want to put Leeds to the sword. You know, they could. You know, we might go on about their history, but you know they got no Billy Bremner anymore. So let's go and stuff them. And I would love to get into the conference next year, because the only way you're going to get better at football is by playing football.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, look, for me, I get why some people wouldn't want Europe, right? And I fully understand, you know, the benefits to not having Europe, this, that, and the other. But I also sort of sit like, who do we think we are going, oh, we'll just take a break from Europe for a year? You know what I mean? It's sort of like, I don't like that sort of attitude. That's like, oh, we can take a break from Europe and we're going to get back there. There's no guarantees we're going to get back there. You've got Brighton doing things right. Brentford on our Achilles heels doing things right. You know, you've got Newcastle who are probably going to expend a lot more than what they originally planned to stay in top four. United are back. Jurgen Klopp's, you know, he'll probably be back with Liverpool next year. Poch is due to sign for Chelsea today. I believe the contract's already signed. It'll be announced at their home game. You know, and look, he's going to do a good job there. We know what he's done at Tottenham. He will be back up there again. So for me, you know, I think we've got to try and stay in Europe, you know, while we can. But, you know, you also have to question, what does the next manager want? Does he want all that time on the training pitch, or does he want games? You know, it's a hard one. It's a bit of a conundrum to be in, to be honest with you. Anyone else want to say on that before we move on?
So I agree with Sean, like an 80-20, 2 or 3 youth players. Wouldn't it be great to see Dorrington or Devine have some game time in difficult conditions, you know, overseas where it's not perfect, and let's see what they've got. And I don't see it as being too much pressure for them, because I guess ultimately the stakes aren't as high, you know. But it could make men out of them.
100%. I don't know whether to save this one for before the lineups come out or after, but Romero, I do want to talk about it, because
so do I.
Today's game. I knew you did. He's not.
Sean ain't happy. He ain't happy. He's going to smash his apartment.
This guy. I swear. I'm sorry, Dave. Go on, finish it.
No, I was just going to say, just for anyone out there who doesn't know maybe why we're bringing it up, right? We've been told this guy's injured. He's not available for today, but he's been selected for Argentina. Now, take yourself back to before the World Cup. Wasn't fit for Tottenham, went to Argentina. All of a sudden, he's fit. Now, I know the Argentinian physios came out around that World Cup or after World Cup and said, you know, hang on, Romero's not that far away as they have said. I don't know, it's a bit of a situation that's brewing, and it is, you know, making people question this guy's maybe loyalty, or is his heart in it? So look, Shawnee, we'll take it over to you, and what we'll do is when the lineups come out, we'll bring them up, but we'll still continue on the discussion, and then we'll get on to talking about the lineups. Take it away on Romero, Sean. What's your feelings on it?
Look, I'll tell you how I feel about it. This is going to go down badly. I think he's the most overrated, best centre back we've ever had. Right? He's the best he's the best of what we have when he wants to turn up. He's well overrated. He's not some Rolls Royce. He's got a high ceiling but a low center of gravity with his mind when it comes to decision making. So that didn't even make sense. A high ceiling but poor decision making that I don't know how high he's going to get. A lot of people always make this defense of saying, "Oh, you're sticking next to someone better." Right, but you can make the same argument for nearly every player in the world, right? If you're playing, you're always going to be elevated, or you should be elevated by people playing better than you. But for me, it's not about my anger with him or my frustration with him. Is not just about his performances; it's about his professionalism. Like I didn't like it. It stunk. It stunk what happened before the World Cup. Right, I didn't think he was injured then, and I don't think he's injured now. Right? Yeah. I don't know. Like, he might well be injured, and I could be wrong. And if I am, then I apologize to him for questioning his integrity. But to me, he doesn't come across to me like a guy who gives anywhere near as much of a shit about his club as he does for his country. It's the same with Lo Celso. It's the same with quite a few South American South American candidates at Tottenham. And I get it, right? Like, playing for Argentina is a bigger deal. They're a better team, winning the World Cup. I understand it, but remember which side of the bread is buttered, right? Who's paying your wages and where you're employed to play. And like, it's twice in the same season, I feel like he is walking away from his responsibilities. Now, I could be wrong, and if I am, like I say, then fair enough, and I apologize now. But we'll never know the truth. But to me, if it smells like a duck, it's usually a duck, right? Especially if it's crispy and it's fried Chinese style. But like, I worry a little bit about whether this guy gives a shit about Tottenham Hotspur. And if the opportunity came in for if he was playing better football, maybe a bigger club would come in and he would do, similar things to what some of the other good players at Tottenham did in the early part of this century, like Michael Carrick and Berbatov and Modric and Gareth Bale. They kind of threatened this, like, player power. Like, I want to go, let me go. I would imagine that if a bigger name came in for Romero, he would jump ship in a heartbeat. Which I think that part of the problem at Tottenham Hotspur right now is no one's pulling in the same direction. There isn't a desire. I don't think there's a big enough desire of the players. And I understand it, right? I understand it starts at the top. I understand it's Daniel Levy set this culture up. I get it. I get where the problems all exist. But I feel like what Tottenham need is a group, an identity that exists within the club, where everyone is fighting for each other, everyone is pulling in the same direction, and Romero as a player comes across to me as someone who doesn't do that.
So, Sean, look, I hear your concerns. I do. So, many people like me, I say he's our best defender. I stand by that, but he doesn't have much. It's not hard to beat what currently he's up against. But, commitment is a massive thing. You've got to be committed to what you're doing, because if you're not, then you just don't give your best. Even if you say you are, you're just not. So would you look to get rid this season along with some of the other names that also have to go out of this defense then, Sean, if what you're saying is the case?
I think you have to have a conversation. Listen, like I say, I'm not privy to his getting inside his head. Yeah. Like, if someone within the club knows that he doesn't care enough, right? If maybe when Conte was saying some of the things that he was saying, if some like selfishness or whatever, if some of that was aimed at people like Romero, then again, there's so many things to fix at Tottenham. There's so many chicken and the eggs. Like, you can't make decisions on players. And this is another thing why, I'm not going to get off the topic, but the managerial search. Like, I know we're 60 days in, but a lot of the I read this article from The Athletic yesterday. It was quite interesting. And they were putting out this kind of argument saying, look, I know it seems like it's been a long time, but actually Tottenham shouldn't be in a rush. First and foremost, they said that they were going to wait until the end of the season. Everything else is speculation. We don't really know what's really going on with all the manager's search, but ultimately there is no rush right now. That we can take their time, get it right, and then make sure that everything's in place. My argument is other clubs have the stability within themselves right now where they're going out and making decisions because they know what's going on in the club. They know how much money they have to spend. They know that who the manager's going to be, what they're playing for, the formation. They know who they want to get rid of. And that allows them to be making plans months in advance of the end of the season, execute on them as soon as the season finishes, or in the case of Brighton, even in the weeks leading up to the end of the season, and then go through it. There's an opportunity cost for Tottenham right now with regards not having a manager in place yet. It means that we have to kick the can down the road with everything. Players coming in is the very last thing that we can do. Before we get that, we have to get through the players that we don't want to have. And before we can figure out who we do need coming in, We need to know who's going out. And before we can do that, we need to know what the manager wants, right? And so Romero, back to Romero, whoever the new manager is, I'd imagine that he'd look at Romero as a player and say, no, I want to keep him. But does a manager coming in really want a player that doesn't want to be here? So he'd need to know, he'd need to have a conversation with every person at the club, every player, and say, do you want to be here? Are you going to pull in the right direction? I don't care if you're the best or the worst. If you don't want to be here, then let me know, right? And I fear that Romero probably doesn't want to be here as much as some of the other players. So to answer your question,
interesting.
I'd rather he stayed. Sorry, yeah, quickly to summarize. I'd rather he stayed, but only if he wants to be here.
Yeah, and you know what? One thing I'll give Sean, he's been consistent on that for quite some time. You know, ever since the World Cup, he has been consistent on sort of questioning Romero's commitment, which when you look at, added by what's gone on now towards the end of the season, now don't get me wrong, I think them games are not being played till mid-June. If it's the same with Ireland aren't playing till the 19th of June. So it does, you know, give him time to get fit till then. But if he's not available for Tottenham, you know, the question marks will always be over his commitment if that is the case. What I should do is someone come out and say, if it is the case, he's not fit now, but by the time them games are played, there's a potential he could be. But that's not happening. So, you know, I get the question marks over the commitment. But look, we'll first of all, welcome in Ashmatic. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you, my man. We'll let Paul in on what Sean has to say there about Romero. Paul, let us know whether you agree or disagree. We'll also go over to Ash, and then we'll have a conversation on the starting lineups. And we'll get Shawnee to add them in here now in just 1 second. But Paul, what do you make on the Romero situation? Where are you at on it? Because it is a conversation that's cropping up this season.
Well, I mean, it could be everything Sean said, or in my mind, maybe you know, I don't really have faith in our medical department. You know, are they? I'm sure someone's certifying them as, you know, sick or whatever you do. Maybe Argentina's just got better doctors and physios than we have. I think we just use dowsing rods and crystals to fix our players up half the time. So, you know, they might dislike, like you said, the Argentinian guy said that he wasn't injured as badly as it was they were led to believe. Maybe it's the same again. I don't know. Or he could be, you know, everything Sean says. I don't know. But I mean,
you've been watching football for a long time. Well, you've been watching football for a long time. So what's your gut feeling on it?
My gut feeling is he's innocent. And I look, he has had some bad performances, but the whole team has. I just, you know, and he is our best defender, but, you know, again, but that's because he's the only one that tackles. So, I mean, it's hard to say about that. Maybe it's just that I don't want to believe that he would be doing silly shit like that. It might be that, but my gut feel says that I kind of like the cut of the guy's jib.
Interesting. So we've got, you know, opposing opinions here. So Ash, it's up to you, my man. I mean, where do you sit on the Romero situation? Because it is one that, you know, under the surface, it is starting to sort of hurt fans a little.
Yeah, I agree with Paul there, because it does come to that whole medical department that Conte criticised heavily. And then one team could look at a player and say, no, he's fit, he's all right. And another team might think, medical department say, no, don't risk it. You know, let's leave him. Let's make him sit out for a couple of games. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's down to the actual staff and how they see it, how they look at him, because he's an important player for us.
Aren't the medical staff going to be listening to Romero, though? And Romero might be saying to the Tottenham medical staff, nah, it really hurts.
It could be the point, but
and the Argentinian medical staff going, how are you feeling? And he's going, no, I'm fine, bro. I'm fine. Put me in. Put me in, plus.
Just to answer it. Just to answer it. He's a very important team member. Number one. I've seen how Kane talks to him and respects him on the pitch. And obviously Kane's the captain. I see how Son looks on him as well. There's a lot of players that look at him as one of the leaders and one of the better players. When you're playing in a squad of 11, you look for your better players, and question marks this season have been, about his performance. They've been up and down, but like Paul was saying, you could say that with about many players. But the one thing I will say on the ball, for me, Romero hasn't dropped off on the ball. His progressive passes, his carries, his passes in the final third, his actual assist to Son, his actual assist to Kane. He's been an integral part of us going forward. So when we're actually front-footed, he's the first man on the ball. There's no other defender like him on the ball that can deliver. And if you look at his actual stats as well, he's in the top 75 percentile in terms of creating passes, assists, key passes as a defender. And in terms of tackling, 95 percentile. There's only 5% that is better than him in the entire world. So that's something to not look away from. Even his blocks are on the 85 percentile, and his interceptions are 75% as well. So, guys,
the question is about his mentality, not about his ability.
I would argue that you could say that about many of the players. Many of the players, you could say the same thing, because a lot of the players have let us down and let the squad down. So you could question a lot of players' mentality in that same breath. For me, it's a thing where a lot of players have been played out of position, I feel. Because I could say Son's had a terrible season, and you could say, Son hasn't performed. What has he done this season to warrant, not getting criticism? But I think Son is being played as an attacking midfielder instead of a wing forward. And when you play as an attacking midfielder, I think his job was to have his back to goal and take a first touch and then help his teammates out. And then he had a lot more defensive responsibility, in my opinion. Now, I would argue that if you put Son in a front-footed team, e.g. like a Liverpool, he would probably have twice as many goals as he did at Spurs, in my opinion.
Interesting. Sean, we'll come back to you just maybe if there's anything that the boys have said that maybe you want to retort on Romero, and then if not, we'll go through the lineups.
I'm not. Like sometimes you get misconstrued. All I'm saying is he's our best central defender, and he's actually my favourite central defender. Right? I love him. I love him when he goes smack like flying in. But I think he's overrated by Tottenham fans. I think Tottenham fans think he's better than the performances that we've seen. He's very inconsistent. Yeah. But my concern about him is not about his ceiling and whether he can be good enough. My concern about him is whether he cares about Tottenham like he does about his international career. And whenever there's an international break, he's always coincidentally injured in the games coming up. And I take the point that it's a month away, right, before but I just feel like you shouldn't be added to an international squad if you're not fit for your club. That's just, and I'm not just saying that about him. I say that about any player. Anyone. I just worry whether or not he really wants to be at Tottenham Hotspur. And if he doesn't, then I feel like as good as he can be, and as much as he is our best and my most favourite centre back, I don't want people in our club or on the team who don't give a shit or don't care, and I worry whether or not his head is in the game for Tottenham. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that's fair enough, and there's been too many players over here down the years that have not cared, and that's why we face the situation we face today. So I think it's a fair point. Does someone want to come in there?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's like how important of a defender he is for Argentina. I think that's why he's been included in the squad. If you look back at David Beckham when he picked up that injury, he might have missed a few games towards the end of the season, but better know he was going to be included in the England squad because of his importance as a captain, as a midfielder, how important he is to England at the time. But I do agree with you at some points, Sean, because I think it's somewhere in the middle where, again, you can question some of these players' mentality, and when things aren't going right or their way, are they saying, I've got a knock here, and saying like, I'm not up for it, or I might have a slight injury. Do you know what I mean? So he could be doing that, but I just feel like I
hope he's not. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he's not. I hope he genuinely is injured. I hope he genuinely was injured leading into the World Cup. And he cares as much about Tottenham, but it doesn't feel that way.
I just think Argentina, he's such he's one of the first names on the sheet. Me personally, when he plays in that team, he's a different player, and I think they love him. So that's why I reckon he's in that squad. They're not going to like say, "Oh, he's got an injury, I'm going to drop him." Do you know what I mean?
I think something else to just keep in mind as well is Argentina. You know, there's a documentary on Amazon. It's on. And, you know, they do call up players even though they might be slightly injured because it's more the camaraderie, it's the team. They sort of explain this on that documentary. Like, you look, they still bring Sergio Aguero everywhere with them, despite him now not playing football because of what happened. You know, they still keep him involved around the camp. They still brought him to the World Cup and all that other things as well. So it is the togetherness that I think they're trying to bring. But look, you know, we'll move on from the Romero discussion. Very good Romero discussion. I really enjoyed that. And I think, you know, it's one that's bubbling under the surface that we needed to speak about. But look, let's get on to these starting lineups. We've got Fraser Forster retains his place in goal. It's hard to know what formation Ryan Sessy or Ryan Mason is going to go with, and whether it's going to be like the 3-4-3, whether it's going to be a 4-2-3-1. It's hard. It could be either with this, but I would say Emerson Royale at right back, Sanchez and Langley as centre backs, Ben Davies at left back. How he retains his place in the team after last week, after the Aston Villa game, I do not know. He's got absolutely railroaded. I don't know how he retains his place in the team. I suppose just job for the boys. Basuma and Skip in midfield. Again, Ollie Skip. Actually, I can understand. Actually, no, I don't understand why we're not giving Papa Matasar a chance. Højbjerg out injured, not involved in the squad today, as you can see. I'm not sure why Ollie Skip is still in there, especially after making a mistake last week, which is what I've highlighted about the guy. You know, he needs to be better on the ball. He couldn't get it under control and couldn't get the ball moving. He got caught. We conceded. So I don't know why he's out there today. Then you've got Pedro Porro, Kulusevski. I reckon Pedro Porro will be right wing. Son on the left with Kulusevski in the cam and Kane up front, who captains the side today. On the bench, you've got Austin. You've got young Abbott. That's the guy that played in beside Alfie Dorrington in the under-18s Premier League Cup final. For me, Dorrington looked far superior than Abbott, so I wonder why Dorrington's not on the bench. Jaffa Tanganga's there. You've got one of the Craig twins, a.k.a. the Cray twins. You've got Papa Matasar, Santiago. I hear people asking who Santiago is. Santiago is a young sort of Spanish guy we've got in the under-21s. He plays out on the wing, can also play a bit up top as well. They've got high hopes for this guy. Me, when I've seen him, I haven't been largely overly impressed, but he makes the bench today. Danjuma, of course, comes out the side after not really taking his opportunity last week, retains his place on the bench. Lucas Moura, don't understand why he's on the bench. And Richarlison as well, who for me, I think he does deserve to be on the bench. But look, we'll start with Paul on this one. He hasn't spoken in a while. Paul, what do you make of this starting lineup? You know, it's good to see Pedro Porro back in there, I guess, but what's your thoughts on it? Does it give you confidence that we're going to go into Leeds, into that melting pot that it's going to be today and get the result?
Well, you know, the result's one thing, but you know, it's about excitement, and does he get your mouth watering? And I think, you know, Basuma, Sarr, and Pedro Porro, I'd be getting a little bit of a, you know, a semi over that, but I don't know why Skip's playing, man. I don't know why Lucas is on the bench, and you know, it's the last game of the season. Okay, we're going for a conference, but probably like yourself, David, I would have loved to have seen Dorrington on the bench, give him some minutes, you know, because he looked ready, you know, and we won't know if he's ready or not until we play him. So, I mean, look, I mean, it's the same story though. That defense is dog shit, isn't it? It really is. So, you know, I'm a bit concerned about that. I'm really getting quite fed up with. It's almost like mistreatment of Sarr, because I think Sarr has got a bit of crackle about him. He's got something about him. He's active, you know. He's very crisp on the ball. One touch, bang, off, or two touches, and then he's off into space somewhere else. I think he's a much more you know, when we've got him in the side, we can open other sides up more than. I mean, Skip's just going to run into people. You know, geez, I'm sick of the sight of that guy at the moment. But there you go. There's my thoughts anyway.
Are you
Not-
excited to maybe get a glimpse, just quickly, Paul, a follow-up? Are you excited to maybe get a glimpse of Pedro Porro at right wing? Because there are many people that say
Yeah.
if the new manager comes in, Pedro Porro won't survive at right back. So, seeing him at right wing today, will that sort of give us an indication whether he's good enough to play there and transition?
Yeah, that is something I missed. I'm all for that. A bit of Pedro Porro on the ring, that's good. But yeah, like I say, Basuma, Sarr, and Porro. Now you're getting me excited. But yeah, it's good to see Porro back.
Just quickly as well, I think admin could have found a much better photo than Harry Kane. I mean, I've got tons of them on my phone that I use for private collection.
It's a shit photo,
It's shocking, isn't it? It's shocking. And plus, he looks about 10. He looks like it was taken from when he was 22. It's a joke.
Yeah.
And, he doesn't even have that hairstyle anymore. It's much more luscious than that. But, Shawnee, we'll go to you. What do you make on the team selection today? Like Ryan Mason, I just feel if you really wanted to put his name in the ring, you should be doing more and be more bold with team selections.
His name's not in the ring anymore, mate. Come on, you could tell by that press conference that he gave was quite stinging, I thought. So I think he's been told under no uncertain terms, like, forget about it, bro. It's nice that you think you're capable, but you're not ready. Clearly not. And look, as far as the team goes, it's about exactly the same as I thought it was going to be. 4-3-3, and then we don't have the ball pivot back to the traditional 3-4-3 or the 5-4-1, whatever you want to call it. It'd be nice to see Pedro Porro get to be able to advance more without necessarily the defensive responsibilities too much. Obviously, look, again, it highlights how weak our back line is. You take out Romero and Eric Dyer, even though Eric Dyer's had an absolutely shocking season, you're left with Davinson Sanchez on the bench. On the pitch, I completely echo Paul's points that Daddy Longlegs should have been given 90 minutes or at least 70. Like I said, I don't know whether the players are going to be playing for the win today or not, depending on whether the team are up for Europe next season. But for me, this game is largely irrelevant. It's experimental, and I think you could show a little bit more flair and give players that haven't disappointed. I think you could have made the argument to keep Danjuma in the team. I think you could have made the argument to put Papa Sarr in the team. I know Danjuma is probably unlikely to be made permanent, but there is a small chance that might happen depending on the price tag. So would have been nice to have seen him one more time. I think we've seen all we need to see from Kulusevski, from Sonny. So I wouldn't have minded seeing Danjuma play as well. But apart from that, mate, just to round off, I'm like, it's exactly what I thought it was going to be, and it doesn't underwhelm me or overwhelm me. It's basically meh,
I've got two quick follow-up questions for you, Shawnee, and then we'll get Ash's thoughts on it as well. So the first one was Danjuma. Some would say he's took his opportunities with limited game time. I would argue, I think it's been 50-50. I think there's also opportunities that he hasn't really took to the best of his ability, i.e. last week, I found him very underwhelming in terms of on the football. He didn't really produce too much for me. What would you do with this guy this summer, you personally? Do you think we should look to bring him in here or not? And also on Kulusevski, he's had a largely underwhelming season this season, hasn't hit the heights he hit last season as well. We have a decision to make on him, whether we want to part with that 30-35 million. Do you also think Kulusevski's worth it?
Yeah, I do think that. I think you do have to get Decky. I think Decky's an intelligent player. I think he's found out. Like I said all season, I think he's struggled to recover from his injury. I think he was rushed back in October from his first hamstring injury. Then it went again, and I think he doesn't trust it right now. But a full summer on the treatment table, making sure you get all of the ultrasound and the laser, all that stuff that they have now to repair any of those fibers, give him the break. I think you'll see him come back. I also think that he got a little bit found out this season. I think he's a little bit predictable, similar to what happened with Sonny. Sonny always used to cut in on the right-hand side from the left. You put Sonny on the right-hand side, he's a little bit less predictable, and the left back of the opposition team hasn't necessarily practiced in that week for Sonny to be playing over there. So having Sonny as a utility seems to give Sonny a little bit more options. With Kulusevski, I think he's a little bit predictable. He always uses his right shoulder to fend off using his strength, but always cuts in. Smart managers, smart coaches can prepare for that, show them the half yard on the inside onto the outside, and then force the player down the avenue that he doesn't want to go. or he walks back into trouble. I think Kulusevski needs to be aware of that. He needs to step up and become a little bit less predictable, make his movements more dynamic next season. But do I think he's worth it? Worth making permanent? 100%. When it comes to Danjuma, look, I think he's only had a few minutes. Generally, I know he had the one game like last week. He didn't do too well, but you can make the same argument for everybody. For me, look, we got to replace Lucas Moura with someone. If the price tag for Danjuma is 10 million or less, or if you could extend his loan for another season, then I don't see the harm in him coming in and being a rotation player again. I just don't see us having hundreds and hundreds of millions to spend, and whatever budget we do have, we really need to occupy it into the goalkeeper, the centre backs, and maybe a monster number 6 or maybe a creative player. So when it comes to the forward line, I don't see us having buckets of money to spend. There are, of course, other options out there that are also very cheap. I mentioned it before. Okafor from Salzburg, I really like. I like the kid from Bruges, Andreas Skov Olsen. I don't know what their price tags would be. If they're similar to Danjuma, then and I think Okafor is only about 10 million. I think Skov Olsen's about 20. So if it's the similar money, go and get one of them over Danjuma. But if Danjuma is willing, if the selling club is willing to let him come in for less than 10 bar, then maybe it makes good sense given the amount of money we need to spend elsewhere that are higher priorities. That's my take on those two players.
Do you know what? For me, with Danjuma, just quickly, I feel he's very similar to a Lucas Moura, where he's more of a player that impacts off the bench rather than actually starting the game. And for me, I don't really want to be signing players like that who just, I think, have more impact on a game off the bench than when they do start. And I do think we need to look for better if we really want to progress. However, I do take your point on the money. I would much rather that go into a goalkeeper and a centre-back at this present time. But Ashmatic, Sean speaks about Kulu being too predictable out on the left or on the right-hand side, that he's sort of being read, Do you think Kulusevski, if he was in a cam, it'd be a lot harder to read him because he can go either way? And also, what's your thoughts on this starting lineup, Ash? I'll be back in 1 second. I just need to go straight into Spuds.
Yeah, with Kulu, I think in the last game, the first 45 minutes, Tottenham in the whole, we looked a lot more front-footed, a lot more attacking. We were higher up the pitch. And I noticed with Kulu, he wasn't staying in one position. He veered off into the centre at times. At times, he was on the left. And I thought that worked for him. There was a lot of things that didn't quite, happen for him. He kind of lost the ball in that position, as you do, because as a winger, you need to take risks. So you are going to lose that ball in that position. But I thought at times, he did offer something a little bit different going forward, being a bit more dynamic with Danjuma on the right-hand side where Kulu normally operates. And I thought that the runs that Danjuma was making gave more space and more time for Kulu on the ball. And I thought like Kulu was using his strengths, like holding up the ball, dropping the shoulder, coming into space. And I think as a 4, we looked a lot more fretful. I think we should have scored a lot more goals. I think the front 4 or front 3 let us down in terms of the chance they had. Even Danjuma had a header. Even there was a chance off the back of when Emerson Royal had a header as well. I think that whole 4 were linking up very well. The runs that Danjuma was doing just gave so much license for Kulusevski to chop and change. And he was almost operating like a cam. Do I think he can be a cam? I think he's better up on wide, in the wide position, me personally, for what I've seen so far. He got a lot of criticism against Liverpool. I didn't think he played that bad. I think he did a great ball into Sonny with the outside of his boot, showing his quality. But yeah, going through the team itself, if I was to look at the team, I would say, again, Sarr is a lot more attacking than Skip. I think Skip sits too much for me. He doesn't venture forward. I don't know if that's an instruction by the coach to make him sit back and not attack, or if that's just in his game and his nature. I've only seen a 1 goal from him all season when he did go forward. But in general, he's like a deep line and defensive midfielder. And I think there's better DMs out there, in my opinion. He is good with the ball, like passing is his strength, breaking up play, intercepting, reading the game from the back. But I just feel like there's better players for it at the moment. We could improve in that area, definitely. So I would have liked to see Sarr. I think against AC Milan, everyone goes back to that game. He was a lot more dynamic, got on the ball, had more shots on goal as well. And that's something we need from like a box-to-box midfielder. We need a bit more of an 8 rather than a 6, especially against Leeds. Leeds are away. I expect that Sam Allardyce is going to have like a 5-4-1 formation. Looking at that formation right there, I reckon they're going to try and do what he does best: defend, and then hit us on a counter attack. So if that's going to be the tactic, why not put more front-footed players? I feel like Danjuma as well got into the box a lot more than like a Porro would. Porro does kind of come inside a bit, but he doesn't venture inside that 6-yard box. He doesn't attack it in the same way like a Danjuma would. Danjuma plays more like a second striker, if that makes sense, kind of coming off the wing. Sometimes he touches the touch line, and sometimes he comes in. But yeah, just looking at that Leeds lineup as well, I could just see McKennie and Harrison. I think Harrison's going to be, he's the one I really like. I would have liked him at Spurs. I think he's a top player. He's got a great left foot on him. He normally plays down. He can play on the left-hand side, but he can play on the right as well. But he's just such a good. I've seen him at wing back, so he can play more than one position: left mid, left wing, wing back. He's got goals in him as well.
Very fast as well, super fast.
I think he's seriously overrated.
I think he's going to be one of them. Even against us in the home game, I think he was causing us problems, but Rodrigo especially was causing us a lot of problems. And I think if Bentancur wasn't on that pitch that time, Leeds could have got something out of that game, in my opinion. So it'll be interesting to see how they come up against us if they sit back a lot more.
So it's going to be Ayling right back, Christensen, Cooper, and Woba at centre back, Struck at the Struck left wing back. So it's a back 5, and then in the midfield you've got Koch and Forshaw, and then McKennie. Well, obviously Rodrigo's up front, and then Harris and McKennie would be in the. So it's more like a 3-5-2 almost, with McKennie playing in the midfield alongside Forshaw and Koch, right? Coke, or whatever you want to say his name.
Rodrigo for me is the danger man, though. He arrives late into, like that goal he got at West Ham last week, arriving late into the box off the back of a long throw, and that's something we also need to be careful of today. By the way, if they get any opportunity, they will pump that throw in straight into our box, and they will look to profit off it. They've done it against West Ham last week, and West Ham are actually very good at usually defending set pieces and stuff like that. We're not, so I definitely think Sam Allardyce will look to use that today, and it'd be interesting to see whether we can stand up for it. And for me, Rodrigo is the guy you got to watch. You take Rodrigo out of the game, you mark him out of the game. I think you take Leeds. I actually think Harrison is extremely overrated. I think he does a lot of huffing and puffing, but no actual end product, in my opinion. Tries hard and all that, but I don't think he's the player that many make him out to be. And if he was, he wouldn't have gone from Man City to Leeds. In that regard, for me, look, I just want the season to be over. I can't wait for the season to be over. It's been a long season. But
until
look,
next
we'll go
week.
around. Huh? Until next week.
Next week.
Actually, I've got the Aviva. Come back to me mid-July, Sean, once I don't have the Aviva to go to. And, then I'll be, missing football. But look, let's go around the houses, get people's score predictions and where you can find them. Just quickly before we do, though, from me, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who has come on these pre-match build-ups from the start of the season to now, to really help me out, to really, put something out there for you Spurs fans across the world to feel included in, building up to the game and stuff like that for those who can't go. So massive thank you to everybody who has come on, and a massive thank you to all you guys out there who continue to tune in for all these pre-match build-ups despite how hard the season has been. And big up Michael Hellman as well, who also said he appreciates it. So big up, my man. Really appreciate that. But look, let's go around the house. Let's find out where we can find people and what their score prediction is today. And we'll start with you, Paul, my man. What's your score prediction, brother?
Well, I was pessimistic, but I got pumped up on your stream. But I'm even more pumped up now. So to those commenters that say, "Oh, I'm fed up with the happy clappers," it's going to be 6-0 to Tottenham.
I love it. Harry Kane to reach 30 goals today, Paul, right?
He'll get 5, and Sarr will come on as a sub and get 1. And I hope the only thing I hope for tonight is I don't want to see bloody Lucas Moura. I'm going to go out and strangle a bat if he comes on.
Especially if he's the first one off the pitch. Especially if he's the first one on. Like last week, sentimental reasons, not actually caring about the point on offer. Shawnee, where can people find you, my man, and what's your score prediction?
Yeah, guys, you can find me at Spurs Talk Show on the march to 8K now. Yeah, so if you haven't already found me, then type in Spurs Talk Show, all one word, and yeah, drop a sub, even if you don't like me. Support, like I say to every Spurs content creator, support all the channels and help everybody out. It'll be really cool to see you over there. And as far as the prediction goes, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think the last 5 games or 6 games has been 24 goals between Tottenham and Leeds. So I'm going to go for more than 3.5 goals. I'm a betting man, and I've had a bet on 3.5 or more, so 4 goals or more. And I'm going to say it's going to be 2-2 to a Desmond 2-2, a Desmond. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. But yeah, that's where that's my prediction.
So Sean's prediction is no European football next season. I love that. Love that. But guys, the link for Sean's channel is in the chat. Please, I do encourage you to get over and subscribe to everyone like Sean. You know, they're giving up a lot of their time and their day and stuff like that to be able to do this. So, you know, show great gratitude to get over there and smash that subscribe button. Ash, score prediction, my man, and where can people find you?
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think Spurs will win. Not sure how much by. 2-1 or 3-1. I'm feeling. Basically, because people don't want the Europe thing, I think that's what's going to happen. I think we're going to end up. Not all fans. Some fans don't want it. So I reckon we'll end up going against run of play. We've been playing poor all season. We haven't won away all season. I think it'll be typical Spursy for us to come and win the last game of the season and Leeds get relegated. You can find me on Southview Quays tonight at 7 p.m. I'm also trying to put together a series where I look at Asian players and if there's anyone in the market that Spurs can look at in terms of data, statistical analytics, etc. If that's the route we're going down. And I'm also going to do some analysis on players that we actually linked with as well. So, guys, if you want to check it out, I've got a few videos that are up already. So,
well, Australia is in the Asian Confederation, so I reckon, you know, if we're paying Eric Dyer $100,000 a week, $5,000 a week, I'm all yours, man.
Right. Love that. Love that. Well, guys, the link for Ashmatic's channel is in the chat. So if you can, please get over, smash that subscribe button and help them out. Look forward to seeing that content coming from you, Ash. Just before I plug myself and put myself in there, I'll take this from Tom Whiten. Whitten, he says, Conte was right. This team can't play attacking, pressing football without conceding too many goals. Let's get that win today. Come on, you Spurs. And look, it's the reality. Honestly, it's hard to implement any style when we get railroaded the way we do. The sickening thing is, you know, we've equaled our worst defensive record. We can see today it is statistically the worst defense in Tottenham's history. That's how bad it's been, you know. And do you know what? I'd even double down on it. Even the technical ability of some of the players we've had to use across that back line this year, it's not good enough to play on the front foot possession-based football either. So not only did they kill us one way, they also kill us how we play the other way as well. And if once we get that sorted, I do truly believe you will see a much better product on the pitch. I'm not saying we're going to be outstanding, but you'll see a much more team sort of ethic. You'll see us trying to do things a lot more the right ways. So, look, I don't think anyone could sit here and say Conte was wrong. But look, you know, at the end of the day, he got himself sacked. But he was right in what he said. And, you know, Jose Mourinho also sort of said something similar about the players before. He was right on it. You know, many fans have said stuff on the players. They've all been right about it. And at the end of the day, this shit has to stop, my man. And we just want progression and we want to move forward. And in order to do that, it's got to be deals done across that back line. Big up, Tom. Really appreciate the support, brother. Really do appreciate it. Guys, for me, I'm going to go Tottenham 3-2. I'm never going to pick Tottenham to draw or lose. I do think it's going to be a tough game. Look, it's going to be tough. For me, if Tottenham get the early goal, you silence that crowd completely and you then are in the ascendancy. The longer the game goes on, with Leeds still in with a chance, we will lose this game. And I don't like saying that. I do not. But guys, if you want to hear more of me or that, you can find me over at the Irish Hotspur. The link here is in the chat. Be greatly appreciated. I'm on the road to 10K, so if you can help me get there, that'll be awesome. Sean's also on the road to 8K, so don't forget about that. But guys, it's been an absolute pleasure sharing this season with you guys all season long. look, I know we haven't exactly produced the happiest of shows, but I hope that you can understand that it comes with the territory. Spurs are doing well. Everyone's pumped up. The questions become more positive. Spurs are doing bad. You've got a lot more talking points that a lot of times go that way because of how the team and the club is doing. But look, most of all, thank you so much for putting up through that crap with all of us here. And hopefully I'll be around to see you next season. Make sure you stay tuned for that watch along. And someone has asked me for it. Why not go for it for the last game of the season? Come on, you Spurs!
Yes!
Let's go,
Kelly
Spurs.
Spurs!
Come on, you Spurs!
Go, boys.